Story 1. Had an epiphany at 22 that no matter what has happened before, the next 60 years of my life are mine to shape. My happiness, my choices, my responsibility. Story 2. Being a father. I never had one. My mother was addicted to heroin. I grew up in a house full of drug addicts. I was a difficult child, breaking the law, involved in violence, drugs, and drinking a lot of alcohol daily. I got a girl pregnant and flipped my life upside down. I found a job, although I had many and couldn't keep one longer than 2 years. Got my driving license, kept a stable household, and did what I think parents should do. Story 3. My dad's death. I miss him very much. It feels like someone ripped through the fabric of the universe and pulled me into another one. It also feels like there is someone else living in my body now. I logically know she is me, but I don't know her. I have no choice but to get to know her and become her. I am much more rigid now, more joyless. Even though there are things that make me happy, I am focused on what I want, and I tend to disregard the nuance of things if I cannot be bothered to care. Things have become more black and white when it comes to me spending time and energy on them. Story 4. My friends of 12 years, 3 friends, suddenly stopped talking to me. In high school, they made a new friend, and just because I said I did not really like her, they distanced themselves from me. I was alone with literally nobody to talk to, but it is fine. I am in college now and have many friends. Story 5. My brother's death devastated my parents. I finally grew up and took care of all the funeral arrangements so my parents could grieve with the least amount of stress. Story 6. Not feeling it was okay to seek help until it was too late. Losing my wife and children. Losing my parents. Attempted murder. The Blacklist on Netflix. Story 7. Getting cheated on. The woman who cheated on me lied and said she was sexually assaulted. Police were called. She was willing to potentially ruin another man's life and put him in prison rather than face accountability. This taught me that people really only care about themselves. Story 8. Realizing how easily people can be manipulated by harmful individuals, false beliefs, and money. Instead of listening to their friends or family with facts and proof, they believe television and social media. Story 9. Loneliness. I was always a bit of an outcast and never felt like I fit in, although I was pretty much always liked and I am not ugly by any means. About 1 year ago, I woke up feeling sick and tired of not having any friends. Tired of sitting at home playing games or watching television. I decided to go to a gym and work out to get more physically fit and have social interactions with people. After a couple of months, I had the usual people that I talked to. One of them was a volunteer firefighter and asked me if I was interested in joining them. I went to the station a couple of times to see them practice and train, and I ended up falling in love with it. I was never good at dating. It usually ended after 1 or 2 dates. But having my hobbies gave me more confidence, and now I am dating a girl I met on Instagram. I basically turned my life around in a year. I know the reason why I always preferred to be alone. My dad is an alcoholic and I was always ashamed to bring people over. But one day I just could not take it anymore. Story 10. Current federal employment issues, mainly related to my mental health, have changed everything. They have made me open my eyes to a lot of things. Story 11. The sequence of trauma, both significant and minor, did not prepare me for the life-changing trauma of Helene. Unfortunately, from 2017 until now, I have experienced numerous life-altering family emergencies. I am exhausted from the constant struggle of being physically disabled in a world where I am not valued. Therefore, I have become a recluse. My empathy goes out to all of you in the same situation. Story 12. The hatred of people everywhere is overwhelming. It seems like they are just sitting back, waiting to unleash their horrible hatred on anyone, no matter what. This is especially true on social media. I am sure the coronavirus pandemic started some of it, but it is very discouraging to me. Story 13. My eating disorder made me a not very nice person, but recovering from it has changed my life for the better. Story 14. A huge disappointment from my own community. No, I will not go into details. Trauma from family and religion. But that disappointment from that community was the last straw in 2012. Story 15. Leaving my small town and seeing the world. Get out of your bubble, people. explore and meet new people, places, and cultures. Story 16. Having children has given my life a new purpose. They help me grow and I help them grow. It also motivates me to leave the world in a better state for them and their children. Story 17. Time mentally and physically. You always hear it and you always know it is true, but you will never understand until you see how long the road behind you is with your own eyes. Story 18. My mother passed away unexpectedly when I was 23. I am going to Japan. I had a deeply introspective and powerful magic mushroom trip in 2017. My father was recently diagnosed with cancer. Story 19. 1. Near-death experience. 2. Difficult breakup. 3. Living in cultures different from mine. 4. Having a child. Story 20. My mom's death affected me deeply. She abused me so much that my only driving force in life is my anger towards her. I don't make friends, and I don't care about my siblings or other people. All I want is to be financially stable and get back to my mom. After she died, all my plans in life seemed to disappear. I feel empty. I don't know what to do. Until now, I feel like a dead fish going with the current. Even in her absence, she still causes me pain. Story 21. Is it just me, or is every answer here some form of depression, trauma, and/or finding Jesus? Let's hear it for love, folks. The patient and caring kind when we needed it most. The passionate and exciting kind that brought us to life. The kind that falls short so that we can learn why. The kind from within that makes us whole. Story 22. Experiencing sexual harassment and having an older sister who was a bully had a significant impact on me. My sister caused me chronic anxiety, which triggered fears of never being enough, failing or disappointing others, sensitivity to loud noises, and fearing that someone will raise their voice. Sexual harassment led me to distrust others, especially men, and made me more introverted and reserved than before. I no longer hug everyone. I do not carry a smile whenever I am out alone, and I prefer taking a more complicated route home rather than an easier one with a man. I dislike this, but I cannot help it. I do not want to make myself vulnerable to perpetrators or allow them to take advantage of my kindness and friendliness. Story 23. Trump being elected for the second time is when I lost all faith in democracy and Western civilization. Story 24. Breaking up after a 13-year relationship, quitting my corporate job of 25 years, and my father being diagnosed with cancer all within 1 year. Story 25. My multiple sclerosis diagnosis. I was a very active person, running 6 to 8 miles every day, and a boxer. That was just 4 years ago. Now I frequently lose my balance and have short-term memory loss. I live a slower life now. Story 26. Medication for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder started 2 months ago, and things seem different in a positive way. It is hard to explain. Story 27. I became deathly ill seemingly overnight. I couldn't walk for 4 months. I had fevers every 2 or 3 days. I couldn't eat and choked every time I tried to swallow. My speech was extremely slurred. I had no motor control of my hands, and no one could figure out what was wrong with me for a year and a half. I almost died. At one point, I weighed 70 pounds. Here is what changed me. I had a best friend who was jealous of my illness and claimed she had cancer. She did not. All of my other friends disappeared. I was shocked because I thought I had better friends than that. Clearly, I did not. Then I realized that the effort I put into dressing a certain way or wearing makeup was just some unstated, unrealistic expectation of me. No one really cared at all. So now I do what I want. I am still a people pleaser, but I have limits now. When someone crosses a limit, I just move on. I come home to dogs, chickens, and ducks. Maybe a donkey soon. But I will never forget that lesson. I will not forget that people are not always there, and it is my life, so I am living it for me now. Story 28. Age 20 to 30, worked hard and played hard. We had children and became parents. We had objectives we both thought we wanted. In our 40s, thoughts and priorities changed. We adjusted our wants. In our 50s, children got older and jobs changed. In my 60s, what is important to me has changed. Work is not the priority it once was. Spending time with my wife doing things together is more important. Hobbies and wants that were very important are not as important now. Story 29, Life. Sounds simple, but hear me out. I was abandoned repeatedly as a child, including 2 years where, on and off, I was in solitary confinement during school hours. I started burying close friends around age 12, then joined the fire department, then the military, then became a police officer. I had children, got divorced, found an incredible woman, and one day she disappeared. Not literally, but before my eyes, she seemed to become someone else. I have almost been killed more times than most people have flown on airplanes, broken my back and 2 or 3 dozen other bones, and suffered dozens of brain injuries. I have lived through enough trauma for 10 lifetimes. I have watched therapists wince when I open a new layer to them, but through it all, I refuse to believe the world is not a beautiful place. I love poetry, babies, the laughter of my children, whiskey by the fire with friends, maybe a cigar, snuggling and big bear hugs. I love to hike and have a good cry. I have some intense hobbies, climbing and skydiving are 2 examples. The point is, through all the hardship I have seen or experienced, life is beautiful. My heart hurts, my brain can be my worst enemy, but I am grateful for a life that has allowed me to experience the love of another human being, watch sunsets from the peaks of mountains, and swim in the middle of the ocean thousands of miles from land. My soul bears scars, but I refuse to be broken. I drink water like someone crawling through the desert. I eat like I have been starved for days. I notice the smallest gestures and am deeply appreciative. I only have that depth because of my scars. Read Death Song by Tecumseh. It contains the secret to life. Story 30. Death of family members and my ill spouse have forever altered me, perhaps in a positive way. I am now more grateful for what I still have. Story 31. Constantly moving from one city to another every couple of years has taken away my core nature of being an extrovert, my confidence, my physical health, and to some extent my mental health. I am so done with moving. Story 32. Years of being hurt and stepped on by people I thought cared about me toughened me up and calloused me to everyone except my closest 2 or 3 people in my circle. In a way, it strengthened my drive to be a better person and not treat people that way. Just because I prefer a small, trustworthy circle does not mean I no longer care about the well-being of people outside of it. My experiences simply changed whom I let into that circle. Story 33. Corporate America. I have worked many jobs across various industries. I have spent the last 9 years working in corporate technology, and the amount of dread it causes is overwhelming. It is hard for me to believe in the future anymore because of how corrupt and dystopian these companies are. The saying, America is not a country, it is 7 corporations wrapped in a trench coat, is absolutely true. It definitely changes the way you see the world, and not for the better. Story 34. My lack of knowledge and perception over time. Emotional, mental, and substance abuse. Poverty and my environment. Trauma. Life's hardships. Failed relationships. Depression. Story 35. Knock on the door at 13. My mother answered. It was the police. My father had died suddenly. From that moment on, a lifelong friendship with anxiety began. Story 36. Rock bottom. Living in a shelter. Realizing no one is coming to save me. I was the last one to know that the problem was myself. Story 37. Adversity. Seeing people close to me suffer. Realizing my mortality. Having a child. Losing another potential child. Being attacked by adult bullies as an adult. Story 38. Psychosis. I have had 2 breaks, one at age 28 and one at age 29. Until then, I was an unwavering atheist my whole life. Raised atheist, I never questioned it. But when I was psychotic, I had some sort of ecstatic religious vision. I saw something infinite, perfect, and beautiful, and I interpreted it as God. Even now that I am out of the psychosis, I still cannot quite let that vision go. Now, I would describe myself as agnostic. Story 39. Other than the major events. Job loss and major injury. I lost my job in the middle of last year, then took some time off before looking again. I am still looking. It is rough out there. While I was healing and recovering, I decided to do more sports and exercise more until I broke my ankle badly. I feel like a lot of my future has been taken away in these 2 moments. I am sure I will be fine, but dealing with the here and now of both situations is incredibly hard. Story 40. A lot of things. 18 years of martial arts, being in university, seeing friends happy and doing well, discovering that I have empathy towards 3 friends, all currently on antidepressants. Story 41. Lots of things have changed and shaped me. Divorce, loss of jobs, age taking its toll on my body, 76. Poor decisions in relationships, loss of people I love. Story 42. I was diagnosed with an incurable and life-threatening condition, depression. My ex literally ghosted me one day after saying he could never live without me and used to cry in my lap whenever we fought. I am living abroad alone with 0 friends, absolutely none. I have had 2 near-death experiences where I realized midway that I had no one to call for help. All of this happened to me within just 1 year. Story 43. Saving up to travel. I started a challenge with my friend to save $12,000 for travel. I discovered that most of my money was actually being spent on non-essentials. Most of it was on coffee, food delivery services, occasional online shopping sprees, visits to the barbershop, and the gym membership you never use. You would be surprised how much you can save if you cut these things out of your life or adapt by having your own coffee machine at home, making home-cooked meals, and using the gym at your workplace. Happily, we did go to Italy and it was awesome. Story 44. Having an epiphany at 29 when certain people showed their true colors. 31 now, and I have found other people who accept me as I am and actually have some empathy for once. That and doing night classes for accounting. Story 45. I was in a serious relationship for a little over a year until that person completely ghosted me. I mean, mid-conversation, they just stopped responding. They never spoke to me again. I wasn't okay for over a year. I couldn't get out of bed most days. Completely changed my life because I learned so much. I did a complete turnaround. My life then and my life now are so completely different. It's incredible. I ran into that person about a year ago. I saw them from across the room. They looked at me, then looked away, and that was it. While it may seem sad to some, it was a totally freeing experience. Story 46. Weeks ago, I checked my fasting blood sugar, and it was 8.3 millimoles per liter. I went to the doctor, certain I was diabetic at only 28. They ran all the blood tests. All came back normal. Hemoglobin A1C, insulin, glucose, even anti-glutamic acid decarboxylase and anti-insulin antibodies were perfect. I then started checking my blood sugar more often, and it was always normal. A few days ago, when I checked again after a meal, it showed 1.8 millimoles per liter, which is impossible because I would have been in a coma or at least shown symptoms, but I was feeling great. It turned out some of the test strip chips don't work, and the 8.3 was probably a mistake. Now, knowing I'm not diabetic and not even insulin resistant has brought me back to life. I was depressed for 1.5 years because I didn't know what jobs to look for after losing my job. But now it doesn't seem such a big problem anymore. Now I know I won't have to control every bite I eat for the rest of my life. After that, I started eating healthy and consuming less sugar and unhealthy food. With all due respect to people who control their blood sugar, including my mother, I do have hypothyroidism and will have to take iodine pills for life. Having to control my blood sugar too would be a nightmare for me. I'm very thankful for this chance to keep myself healthy and enjoy my favorite foods every now and then. Story 47. Being abandoned by someone I thought I would spend the rest of my life with. No fighting, no conversation, just left. She literally took a part of my soul with her. Story 48. Getting to know death. My brother, father, best friend, grandfather, grandmother, uncle, and another grandfather had all died by the time I was 23. It really puts life in perspective and makes you realize that life is very important but very fleeting. I was a drug addict and a thief. I just want to do good now to make them proud. Story 49. Running and therapy. Finding running and therapy progressing at the same time was significant. It really taught me self-love and true confidence. Doing hard things is very good for you. Story 50. The money I have made, I am not flashy with it, but others might feel a certain way. I am humble and do not show off. Story 51. The most riveting, most traumatic experience of my life. I wouldn't say it changed me exactly. You know, when you're almost there and you can feel that you are almost there, and you just need that final push to get to where you want to be? That's where I'm at, and I love it. I've always known this was who I was. I just needed a little more proof. Story 52. My first breakup made me realize many of my problems, taught me a lot about people in life, and also broke something inside me that I do not really know how to fix. Story 53. Magic mushrooms. I had an amazing trip in the woods with a friend. I gained a lot from it, but the most important thing I gained was a mindset change. It's hard to put into words, but when I was coming down from the mushrooms, I kept thinking, I am going to take my time through life. On the surface, this may seem strange, as one might interpret this as a commitment to being lazy. However, while I was in the woods, I had never been more at peace than when I was running around, touching all the plants, looking at the mountaintops over the horizon, and soaking in the sun. In a way, I was taking my time through it all, and the whole experience made me realize this. Despite the emotional waves and challenges I will face and overcome throughout my life, I accept that I have no excuse but to continually appreciate every moment, every person, and everything. Appreciate it not only for what it is on the surface, but for how it changes my spirit, good or bad. Appreciate it in the sense that the wisdom gained from attempting to comprehend that experience over time is nature's way of guiding you where you want to go and need to be. Story 54. Honestly, pain. Going through hard moments, heartbreak, disappointment, losing people, failing. Those were the things that really changed me. They forced me to look at myself, to grow, to let go, and to rebuild. It is not always pretty, but pain teaches in ways comfort never can. Story 55. My twin brother tried to take his own life. When we went for a walk, I asked why, and he replied, I didn't even know you cared. I made a lot of changes after that. Story 56. Witnessing footage of September 11th at a young age. Seeing my grandparents succumbing to illness. My parents' divorce. Escaping a living situation where a former roommate constructed a pipe bomb. Leaving a new age cult and experiencing an existential crisis. Complex history and trauma involving a certain person. Certain abusive people who are no longer in my life. Surviving a car collision with a moose uninjured. Witnessing a funeral via live video of a refugee with family on the other side of the world. Leaving an ex who was close to me and became abusive and manipulative. Story 57. Growing up realizing that as the only son, I would have to bring household income has changed me a lot. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.